Hi, CC friends. Welcome back. This is CC Cycle 1. We are on week 10. Today, we are skip counting the squares. So for class, we explained what a square is at first, which is a number multiplied by itself. So 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, and so forth. Once we got that concept, then we recognized that what we're skip counting is all the numbers up to 15 multiplied by itself. And for class, as we ran through the skip counting of the squares, we took turns putting a square around 2 numbers at a time. Depending on how many people are in the class or in your group as you're practicing this, you can put a square around 1 number, 2 number, or 3 numbers. And on the numbers that you put the square around, that person gets to decide what the group does as we get to that number. So today, we ended up getting quite the workout because we had 2 squares where we were doing fast spins as we got to that number, 2 squares where we were doing jumping jacks, 2 squares where we were doing push-ups, somebody actually chose, and 2 squares where we were doing starburst, which is where you crunch down onto the ground and then starburst up. So that is how we covered our skip counting of the squares. And as we skip count it, you're basically doing different things on each of those. Each of the people who got to put a square around the numbers had their own color of dry erase marker, so we knew what we're doing on each of those squares. So the tune sounds like this. It is 1, 4, and 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196, 225. And as you get to each number, you're doing a new thing. So that is how we did our math for today. For English, we are going on with some of our next prepositions, and they are through, throughout, to. You just point like you're pointing to where you want to go, and then you take a couple steps toward that direction. So through, throughout, to, and toward. And those are our prepositions for this week. For history, we are learning about Japan's Heian period. So for class, we had a couple visual aids to show what we're talking about. And so we talked through it, and then we also took turns. Well, not took turns. We also had a visual aid once the class was introduced to telling about Japan's Heian period and the whole history statement. Then each student was given a section of the history statement to hold up as they sang that portion of the song when we got to them. So we have 794. These are printouts that are from CC Connected 3 years ago when I first did Cycle 1. And I think they may still be there, but CC Connected. So we did, one person was holding up the section for 794. Then we got to Japan's emperors moving to Heian, present day Kyoto. And then we have the Heian period ended in the 12th century. So somebody's holding it up at that point. And then we're moving on to the next part where the feudal system, where knights called samurai protected wealthy landowners. And so in each, 1 second, baby.
I want to see.
Yeah, 1 second. And so as we were doing each one, you could see the visual for that part. And this is Sky saying hi. That is how we covered history today. Tell me about Japan's Heian period. For Latin, we are continuing and rehearsing or practicing the 4th declension noun endings. So we took out our finger puppets again, just like last week, and we just split our finger puppets among the class. And so each of them had a couple finger puppets, and we still held up our hands just as if we were having our 4-person choirs. So we have the singular ones are us, ui, ooh, us, ui, ooh, us, ui, ooh, singular 4th declensions. Then for plural, we have ibis, 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 plural 4th declension. This time we have 2 choirs because it's plural. So we have our 4th declension choirs with 4 members of the choir. And for plural, we bring up 2 4-person choirs. And that's how we cover our 4th declension noun endings. For timeline, we are learning about Japan's Heian period. So we do the shape of Japan with our hands. Japan's Heian period. This is representing the class order for people groups, kind of like the feudal system. It's showing that difference. Then we have Charlemagne crowned emperor. So we do a crown on our head and then an E for emperor coming down like a sash for royalty. Charlemagne crowned emperor of Europe. And then we have Alfred the Great of England. And then we have Eric the Red. We point to our lips because they're red. So that's the sign for red. So Eric the Red, and Leif Erikson is his son. So we move our hands like this for Leif Erikson, like a baby. And they were Norse explorers. So we look from here and here. The next we have Vladimir, V for Vladimir, the first, wiggle our finger for number 1, the first of Kiev, and Byzantine Emperor Basil the Second. So this is a B, and this we wave it for the second. And then there's a little bit of music, and it says, another 1,000. And so you do that a couple times. And then the last one is East-West Schism of the church. So that part goes really fast. So it's just East-West Schism of the church. And this is just showing a separation, a schism. So East-West Schism. And that is timeline. For geography, we had our maps in class, and we explained how if you were to see the whole map, you would see that this is the Pacific Ocean over here. And if you continue going in that direction, you would come to the United States. And over here, you would come to China. So we have our Pacific Ocean here. We have the Sea of Japan. And then today in class, we used chopsticks to point to the locations after we colored the different areas. So here we have Kyoto. And then this green triangle here is Mount Fuji. And then on this side over here is Tokyo, which is the capital of Japan. So we identified all of those different parts, labeled them for the key up here. And then as we were doing all of our geography today, I put on some ancient Japanese style music for class. And as we were learning geography, we had that playing in the background. And then we did our show me, tell me with our chopsticks once we got everything labeled. And that's how we covered geography today. Okay. So then the last but not least is science. And for science today, we are learning what are some leaf shapes. And so I passed these pictures around in class just to show some examples. Another idea that you could do at home is actually just go out and grab some of these leaves from outside, or have the kids do that, to grab just some different types of leaf shape. These are all things that we can find. That's upside down, but these are all things that we should be able to find in our area. So we talked about how there are basically 2 different distinctions that are made when you're classifying leaf shapes, and they are either needles or flat leaves, or also called broadleaves. And most of our leaves that we see are flat leaves, and then there are needles. And so we discussed that very quickly. And to cover our leaf shapes, which are linear, oval, so linear, oval, lobed, cleft, scale-like, and needle-like, we sang this to the tune of London Bridges, and it sounds like this. What are some leaf shapes? Linear, oval, lobe, cleft, scale-like, and needle-like. What are some leaf shapes? Linear, oval, lobed, cleft, scale-like, and needle-like. And that is all of our science and all of our memory work. For review today, we did do something fun leading up to Thanksgiving, and we created thankful leaves. So in light of our review of leaf shapes, We did leaves that we could decorate and write on there what we're thankful for. So we did different leaf shapes, talked about identifying what type of leaf they were as we colored them, and what we are thankful for individually. And then the kids can take them home and either put them on a tree, or the idea that I was going for is just to have a little hanging, I cannot think of the word for this right now, but to hang them on the wall like this and to see them in their room, on their door, wherever you decide to hang them, and be reminded of all the many things that we have to be thankful for. That is what we did for week 10 today. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time for week 11. Bye.